Okay. People coming in. How's it going? Waving, more waving. They're coming. More coming. How's it going? A lot of people with the little wave emoticon. All right. I'm going to wait another minute or two. I will wait another minute or two. And people are joining quick. Cool. All right. Do that. That better? That better? Y'all like that? Sunny day. Yep. Multi-decker. Dekor. Jacob Bockelman. Contemporary creators. Joined, waved, then waved again. Okay, cool. All right, about another minute, and then I'll chit chat for a little bit, and we'll get the party started. Everyone out there quarantined. I'm here in the studio, and these things I've been doing now for about a month. I don't know. I mean, I guess they're growing on me. I'm a little bit, as I've said the last couple of weeks, I've been a little bit indifferent about them. I could take them or leave them. But there seems to be some good feedback about it, and people seem to appreciate it. I am on here for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to help and pass along some knowledge to a lot of people who seem like they can use it. And number two, I just want to keep people posted on what I've got going on. It seems to be a good way to keep the whole thing rolling, the whole ball rolling, the whole machine oiled and running and humming. And okay, so I guess I've been on here for a good 120 seconds or so. So I'm going to get started. Robatello 13, your stuff rocks. Thank you, Robatello 13. Appreciate it. All right, I'm in my studio. As you can see, taking a little break to talk to y'all for a little bit today. Everyone's probably cooped up. And as I've said before, don't let the time manipulate you. You need to manipulate the time. I might have used a different verb before. Maybe I said use, but keep it in mind as this thing continues on. No one seems to know exactly when it's going to be over. Regardless of where on planet Earth you seem to be living, or not seem to be living, but where you're living. Anyway, so now that I've been on here for almost 5 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and officially ring the bell. Okay, everyone's in class. Not really class, but you know what I mean. Okay, a couple of things I want to point out. The first thing I want to mention is I have a brand new press kit that just came out yesterday. It's a small little PDF file with some really new work and links to different things. If you want to buy them or you want to look at them, you want to browse them, there's a couple of installation shots. It's a small PDF file. I hope everyone will not only grab it, but email it around, text message it around, circulate it amongst people you know, especially people who collect art. That's big. So the link is in my profile, and it'll take you directly to the press page on my website. And there, the top link says 2020 Press Kit. If you don't feel like clicking on the top link, there's a button at the bottom of the page that says 2020 Press Kit. So click at the top link or click at the button at the bottom of the page, 2020 Press Kit. The link's in my profile. Hi from Armenia. Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know the Armenian flag. That's really interesting to see those flags. I gotta get my flag game up, man. My flag game is not strong. I really need to get my flag knowledge up to speed. Anyway, so you go to the link on my profile. It'll take you to howardsherman.com/press. Click on the 2020 2020 press kit link at the top. There's also a button at the bottom of the page. I can't tell if Lee R. Williams is from England or Australia. The emoticon is really, really small on my phone. Hey ho, let's go. You want to be sedated, Brandon O. Wandos. Okay, so hi from Norway. That's cool. Anyway, so there's the link. Go grab the press kit, circulate it around, show it to art collectors, and I would really appreciate it. Okay, the next thing I want to do is, like I said in my email blast to the people who subscribe, is I'm going to flip the phone around. I'm going to show y'all a brand new, never before seen painting that I just finished. I hope this isn't a mistake, because normally I live with them for a really long time to make sure I wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid. But I'm taking a chance on this one just because, fuck it, right? Okay. And then I'm going to talk for a minute. I'm gonna talk about it for a minute. Hopefully I can back up and you can see it okay. I am in a cramped working studio space. I did not tidy up. Okay, there we go. No title yet. It is 70 inches tall and 60 inches wide. I don't know what the centimeter conversion would be for some of y'all who are in centimeters and not inches, but if you're that concerned, you can figure it out. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in for a minute, and then I'll zoom back out. I'll let y'all see some of the little details. Where you see things that look like tape or masking tape, that's not tape. It's paint made to look like tape. And then there are bits like this that are collaged in there. And that's canvas, painted canvas. Can everyone see? Maybe you can say yes or no. Thank you. Fantastic colors. McCourt Rutsby. One thing I've mentioned previously is I'm terrible about keeping up with comments and stuff on the feed. I look down and catch them, but I find it very distracting, which is why I love people to email me questions way ahead of time. But anyway, so I'm going to miss a lot of this stuff, and maybe I'll just go back and look at it later if I get a chance. Anyway, so here's some canvas collage on there. There's actually a grommet. I'll work my way around. Brand new, no title yet. Still figuring that out. Not sure this is a good idea. I know it's done. I feel good about it, so I guess it's a good idea. But I rarely would have, in a previous life, I would have really waited until I had the photographer come over here and take a shot and all that before I let anyone see anything. But we're in these strange times where you can't have people over to shoot your work all the time because of the pandemic. So we're just sort of going with it. And if I don't feel comfortable about this afterwards, and I'm not going to keep doing it this way, and I'll just go back to the old way. But I'm kind of finding my way as I go here. And I will, anyway, there's a lot of questions that are starting to come up, and I can't keep up with them, which is why I wish you would have emailed me ahead of time. But I will, we'll see how this goes. These have been going longer than I wanted them to. The last few, I'm thinking 10, 20 minutes. By the time we're done, we're like 40, 45 minutes into it, which a lot of people seem to appreciate. But anyway, they're longer than I thought, and I sometimes I go back and get to the questions later. Okay, so anyway, the next thing I wanted to mention, I mentioned the press kit. I'm gonna keep it on this painting for just a second for a reason, but I follow Sergio Gomez. You should follow him. He does a Breakfast with Sergio podcast. It's sort of business oriented, but it's pretty interesting. But anyway, I was listening to one of his his online podcasts or lectures last night, and he suggested that we write down 3 things that we value in our artwork. And what he did was, more specifically, he said, pick 3 words and write them down. 3 words that describe 3 words that describe 3 things that you value in your artwork. Now, I know a lot of y'all on here are artists following me, but there's also some people on here that are not artists that are following me. They're just interested in shooting the breeze or whatever. Or, hey, that's fine too. I love to have all different types. If you're a plumber, if you're a dentist, if you're a doctor, if you're a fireman, if you're a superhero, or you're just some finger sniffing freak with nothing better to do, all of y'all should engage in this exercise. In fact, what I'd like you to do, even if I don't get a chance to read them right now, so like everyone, no matter what you do, to write now, don't think about it too much, but write down 3 words that describe what you value in your work, whether you're an artist or not. If you're a plumber or whatever you are, a hooker, write down 3 words that describe what you value in your work. Just 3 words. Send them my way right now. Go ahead, on your mark, get set, go. 1, 2, 3, go. Start. Anyway, I'd love to see 3 words. Even you crack dealers out there, you may not be up yet because it's only noon here, but no, I'm kidding. Anyway, 3 words. Let's hear them. What I value in my work, I've picked 3 words, and it's been this way for quite some time, would be humor, excitement, and formalism. More specifically with humor is there's always something kind of playful or cartoonish figuration of sorts, something kind of cartoonish based on my background, which you can learn more about off the website. But there's always something humorous about my work because I think it's very important to hold on to your sense of humor in life, especially right now more than ever. So even if it's somewhat indirect, there's always something kind of playful or humorous going on in my work. So one of my words would be humor. I very much value humor in my work. By the way, as I talk about these things, these are not what you're going to necessarily value in your work unless you're one of these people out there who's continuously copying me. And you're not me and I'm not you. We're 2 different people. We have different interests and different things that we value. So you should keep that in mind as you continuously knock this stuff off. So the second word would be excitement. I very much value making things that feel exciting. As much as I appreciate contemplative, meditative, quiet work and all kinds of art that way, that's not what I'm interested in making right now in my work. I want the work to feel exciting. I want it to, more specifically, to feel bombastic, have a sense of physicality, and be quite frankly, kind of heroic and coming out of a certain historical tradition, which I could elaborate on at another time. So excitement's very important for all of those reasons I just mentioned. I also feel as though I want the work to have a certain sort of formalism to it, meaning formal rigor. And the work needs to work formally, meaning all those things you learn in undergraduate drawing 1 and drawing 2 class regarding composition and shape and form, et cetera, et cetera. I want the work to work on that in that way too. Otherwise, it just feels like a noisy, chaotic mess with no rhyme or reason. And we've all seen plenty of that out there. And many people have a hard time grappling or grasping that particular element in my work or other people's work, because that part of the work is work, real work, in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end, if that makes any kind of sense. So anyway, those are really, wow, here we are. We're 15, 16 minutes already. I'm going to flip this back around. And I just knocked over some buckets. Hold on. Ugh. All right. So I kind of like it here by the window. The light's a little better. The studio gets a little bit dark. Can y'all see me okay? Far away, up close. Far away, up close. Glare, blinding glare off the head, blinding glare off the head. It doesn't really change much either way. The blinding glare is there. Anyway, so I really wanted to share those things with you. I'm hoping that I get a few of you sending me comments doing the same sort of 3-word exercise as it relates to what you make, regardless of whether you're an artist or not. I'd like to hear back from you on that. I'm curious about it. That's really kind of it. I'm not going to work my way around the studio today. I do hope you visit my website. I do hope you grab the press kit. It's like a 2 megabyte PDF file that can be circulated around, So I try and keep my website pretty current and updated. There's recent work in the shop as of last week, if you click on the shop page. Anyway, I didn't get any questions of value to you via email this week. So what I will do before I end this shorter one today, I will start to take a few questions off the feed. I'll make a point of taking a few questions off the feed here. And that'll be that for today. Okay, any questions? No? Should I scroll back? I will scroll back and see if I see a couple of questions. I see a lot of people talking about Mahmoud Kashayim. I'm an artist and I want to know more about this painting if you don't mind. Well, actually, if you're still there, I will flip back to it. I think that's a really valid question, and if I would have remembered, I would have talked about it a minute ago. Okay, so I need to just back up. Y'all bear with me while I get it together. I know this is a little shaky camera work. Really, like much of my work recently, the color combinations are what I started to respond to first and foremost. And I have, in recent years, been, quite frankly, somewhat subconsciously using that sort of hard-edged triangle as a recurring motif in a lot of my work. I like the shape. It's that simple. And this is not the first painting where I've used it as this sort of compositional device in this very same way. So that's really it. The yellow is normally I mix a lot of my colors, and the yellow is not mixed so much. There's passages that are mixed a little bit, but I wanted it to feel sort of like straight out of the tube canary yellow, which is something I was very much against many years ago. I hated it when there was too much straight out of the tube color being used in artwork that I liked. It felt like a easy or sophomoric, or anyway, it's not so much the case, but just sort of how I felt. This painting's actually a little more complicated than it looks, or there's a little bit, I don't want to say complicated, that's the wrong word, but this painting's got a little bit more complexity when you see it in person, and when I show it up close, than it would have, than you would notice, just at a glance or on my website, just the way I used shape and collage. And anyway, it looks, in the phone, the background looks pretty black. It's actually, there's lots of blue in there and lots of gray. And so there's a sort of richness. Once again, ain't nothing like the real thing. If you can see things in person, it's so much better than when you look at them on a screen. But that's kind of that about this particular piece. And you can very much tell if you go to my website, you can see like all the small works on paper, you can see how my compositions have become more distilled in recent years versus earlier years, due to just how the small works on paper have informed the larger work. And I think even the larger work in some ways has informed the smaller work, but that in mostly smaller informing larger, I think more so than larger informing smaller. But they both, or I should just say, to keep it simple, they've both informed each other in a newer way in recent years, which has made my compositions a little bit more distilled and simplified. Everyone should always be drawing, keeping a drawing practice going, I think. So thank you for the question. I would have forgotten to get into that part of it. I got so busy trying not to forget about the three word deal that I forgot to really get into it, the specifics of that particular painting. Anyway, I'm going to scroll back down and see if I got any questions while I was yammering on. Okay, I got a bunch of questions. Thank you for the questions. Let me see how many I can get through before I feel like I've yammered on too long. Although some of y'all really seem to like the rambling that's not pre-programmed. Annie Ann Lai McKenzie, what's with the triangles at the top? Any thoughts? I kind of touched on it just a second ago. I like the triangle shape. I did a post about the shape of the triangle a while back. It's in my Instagram post where I talked about there's a certain sort of mood that different shapes have multiple meanings and moods, but there's definitely a big difference between the perpetual motion of a circle and the sharp edges of a triangle. And I think that the sharp pointed edges of a triangle have more of an allusion to weapons, knives, shards, spikes, violence, and I like that. Yeah. I mean, I've known that for a long time. I haven't really articulated it that way. I have a very distinctive memory of a good friend looking at one of my pieces several years ago, and he had sort of a negative reaction because he felt like he was being stabbed by the sharp edges of the triangular shapes in my work. And I really enjoyed the fact that he had that reaction. I had no intent or interest in stabbing him. He's a good friend of mine. A lot of people probably need a good punch in the face sometimes, but I had no interest in causing him harm. But I liked his reaction, and it's something that stuck with me. And I'd been doing it long before and clearly long after. But I think that's probably why I perpetually return to that shape for that reason. It has more of an allusion to violence than maybe a circle, or it doesn't, even though it is ordered, it doesn't feel to me, and maybe there's not a lot of rhyme or reason behind this, but it doesn't feel quite as ordered as a square or a rectangle, even though I always seem to work on a rectangle. And that's a whole nother conversation as to why I work on a rectangle and why I don't work on a perfect square or a tundra or anything like that. Although my rectangles are half the time, if you look at my assemblages on my website, the rectangles are always, a lot of times, with the small works on paper and even the canvases, but also the assemblages, the rectilinear shape is always rectilinear, but there's a lot of irregularities to the shape, to the edges sometimes. I hope that helped, Ann Lai McKenzie. Stephanie Gordon with Gordin, not Don. Stephanie, do you start with sketches, and what is your inspiration? Stephanie, I don't start with sketches. I'm always sort of drawing. I kind of am always drawing and have the small works on paper are sort of my drawing practice right now. And I guess it could be said that they are, in a way, sometimes they're all finished, resolved pieces. Sometimes they end up indirectly being preparatory sketches for other things I do, but it's never really intentional. The plan is to have as little plan as possible. And I talked about all of that in a previous post about planning and not planning and premeditation versus non-premeditation. And then she asked me, what is your inspiration? We've talked about this before too. I think that inspiration, as Chuck Close would say, inspiration is for amateurs. I've got work to do. I don't wait around for inspiration. KO.concept, how do you choose your color intuitively? That's probably the best way to answer that. How I choose things intuitively. I'm going to skip some of these. Uh, okay, here's a good one. Sarah underscore Sturmy. How do you feel like you create crap? Or how often do you feel like you just create crappy stuff, if at all? How do you cope? I make a lot of crappy stuff. Y'all just don't see it. And if you're not making something that's, if you're not making, I don't, let's not use the word crappy for a minute. Let's substitute the word unresolved, or we can use crappy. I guess it doesn't matter. But if you're not making some things that aren't working, then there's a good chance that you're repeating yourself. You're not really exploring. You're not trying very hard. You're just repeating yourself. So you should keep that in mind. And I think about that, and I guess that's how I cope. I make a lot of stuff that doesn't work, and that's okay. But you do want resolve. You want to get to a point where some of what you make is working. And the truth is, like anything else in life, it should be challenging, and you should keep that in mind. And there should be things that are working and things that aren't working. And through all that, you develop grit, a thing called grit, which not enough people these days have. And you develop grit and perseverance, which I hope that helps. Sarah Sturmy, did that help? Let me know. Art Marla, I know Art Marla in real life, and I just answered that question. Okay, Parks Art. How did you start your art career? Parks Art, Parks.art. Geez, I don't even know. I've been doing this forever. That's kind of that's a whole nother, that's such another thing to talk about. It could turn into a whole thing. I don't even know what you mean by, career. I know what I mean by career, but I'm not so sure what you mean by career. I've been at this a really long time, even before I went back to graduate school to get my MFA. Okay. Okay, there's a lot here now. Jeez. Okay, the pinpoint triangle down. Blue hue. How do you feel about round shapes? I don't have a problem with round shapes. I use round shapes. I just don't. I guess I use them in a more pronounced way than I'm aware of. Sometimes I'm looking down at a work on paper right now, right at my feet, that's got a lot of round shapes in it. But I don't think about them in the same way. I don't have the same relationship with them as I do with the vehemence of triangles. Alex Farrell Art. I answered that question already. Do the differences you make in a specific work in your head. Okay, so here's an interesting sort of question from Thony Duval. Do the different decisions you make in a specific work appear in your head as images or visions while you're working? Probably both. I like the way you articulated that, Thony. Probably both. And usually, almost always, there's a famous saying, if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. You got to get it out onto the paper. Okay, there's a couple other questions, but they could easily turn into like a really long yammering, and I feel like I'm going on and on. So I think that someone wants to be in my video. It's not going to happen. I think that it's not going to happen today. I think that might be it for today. So I'm hoping y'all are doing okay in this quarantine time. If you have any other thoughts, feelings, or questions, feel free to reach out, send me an email. The other thing, too, that I forgot to mention earlier is that I am doing individual one-on-one critiques. So people have been inquiring about that. If you want more information about that, shoot me an email. I'm happy to send you all the details about how that would work if you hired me for that. The other thing I wanted to reiterate is, for the third time, go to my link on my profile and go grab Press Kit 2020 off my press page. And I hope that helped. If you didn't write down the 3 words, you should do it now, okay? And that might be it. I will talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.